Welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with me and Welsh. Today's guest is very special to me. She's a good friend of mine. I've known her for many, many years, about 20 years now. And is someone who I know who's overcome many pains and many challenges over her lifetime. But the good thing and one thing that keeps inspiring me and keeps making me ask her the question, how? How does she overcome these pains? How does she overcome all these challenges? I won't say anything more until you meet her. Meet my special guest, Claudine Brown. Wow, hello!
Hello, how are you?
Welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself. I've done the intro already, so guys, I want you to meet my special friend. And the introduction I've done itself at the beginning, but I would want her to tell you a little bit about herself. But for me, she's someone who I know, I've known for many, many years. She's very special to me. She's my dear friend. She's someone who has always been a person there whenever I'm in pain, or whenever when I say pain, I'm not just talking about sickle cell pain. There are all kinds of pain that when we go through as living. And she's someone who's there. And I want you to tell my dear friend Claudine, welcome to my show, Painless Universal. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how we know each other, if you remember that?
Oh gosh, you're trying to make me go that far back is going to start making me feel old, and that will bring on a different set of pain.
I know.
Yeah, back to college days. Wow, it's been a long journey together, but you talk about me being there for you through your pain. It's probably a good thing that I was there, because I learned a lesson or two to deal with my own pain that I then suffered with in life.
Yeah.
So, but relationship-wise, we're going back to teenage years, and we're not going to say how exactly because it's given away too much about the age.
Yeah.
And as far as I am still 21.
Yeah.
Don't mind.
I know. You do look good, right? You look good. You haven't changed since the very first day we met. You haven't changed. I remember everything very clearly how we met. Today's topic is something very serious and very because I'm looking to encourage other people who've gone through pain. And one thing I know about you is that you're a fighter. You fought every time you get anything brings you down. You fight it back. And we want you to share your story about your chronic illness, because I know you've had one. You've seen me suffer from my own chronic illness, but I just want you to tell us the story about your chronic illness and how you've managed to overcome it.
Well, the thing about chronic illness or pain is that you're just never prepared for it.
That's what I agree.
And that is, I think, the difference between, you were born with your pain and mine just came at the onset of 28, 29. Wow. And I remember at first just thinking, okay, it's probably something wrong. I've been overtraining because I was fencing, I was going dance class, I was doing running, I was gymming. So I just thought, I've probably just been overtraining and I need to relax and rest a bit. And 6 months later, I realized this pain just wasn't going. Yeah. So I decided to go to my doctor, who actually at first didn't take me serious. Yeah. Which is the most frustrating thing is, about 6 months in, I sat down with my GP and I'm explaining the pain, because by then I sort of start to realize it's not normal muscle pain.
Yes.
I sat down with him and eventually I said to him, you know what, I'm just going to make an appointment and see the doctor because you're not listening. And I walked out, and within 2 hours, someone had to call me an ambulance.
No.
Because it's the most ironic thing, I lived with this pain for 6 months, and then 2 hours after telling the doctor about it, who didn't do anything about it, within 2 hours later, someone was calling me an ambulance. Because I went fencing at the Natural History Museum, and I went to move, and my body just wouldn't do what I tell it to do. I was just like, I'm not responding. So I thought, let's just stretch a little bit and see if I need to just stretch and then try again. and my brain is saying one thing, my body is just standing still.
Yes, yeah.
And I realized it was really bad when I couldn't touch my knees.
Yeah.
I couldn't take off my fencing socks, and my fencing socks are very long. They come up to over your knees, and I couldn't take them off.
Yeah.
That was when it was that initial shock, and then you start to reflect and realize that actually your body's been telling you something for a very long time, but you've just been not really paying much attention. You just, as you said on my Friday, I just keep going through it thinking, oh, whatever it is, just keep going. I literally is just that person that just keep going. And so I went listening to those signals until I couldn't go anymore. My body literally just stopped. But those crucial years of then having not being able to work, not being able to go out as usual, not hanging out with friends as usual, being stuck in the house. It's more of a mental battle than a physical battle. Going, yes, there's a pain that you need to deal with, but the mental battle of knowing that the life that you know, the life that you have is gone. It no longer exists. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was one of the challenges that I really had to overcome. And I think for me, it was my biggest fight, because you know me.
Yes.
I think I'm the only person that drags you out to be dancing on the floor till 5 a.m. on the regular occasions.
Yeah, for me, it was challenging too when you when I first heard about your pain and what you were going through, because it was challenging for me, because I'm always, when you were born with it, you're always selfish. You don't want anyone else around you to go through what you're going through. And when you told me about this pain, I was very nervous. I was nervous for you, because I thought, is she ready to take on this challenge? This is going to be something new, something you've never dealt with. But one thing I want to know, because for us with chronic illness, a lot of us are born with it, but yours came at an earlier, later stage in life, more like, how did that affect your going to work? Because with us, we plan. We know that, okay, if we're going to get a job, this is the kind of job we'll get. But for you didn't know. You were really person who's filled with life. All of a sudden, you had to stop because this thing came in. How did that affect you? And how did you manage to overcome that?
It stopped me for almost 2 years. For 2 years, I didn't work.
That is not.
I really could leave my house. I mean, you remember at one point, you were like, you can't stay at home by yourself, and I was staying with you. And you'll never forget. Some people ask me, how did I get through this? And I always actually relate to the story of being in your house and you arguing with me for going back to my house. And I tell them, when you have such supportive friends around you, and for me, that is what kept me going in those years when I felt like my life had literally just stopped. It's almost, you get to that point in life, probably why I'm still stuck at 21, because my life had just stopped. Because you're not ready for it. You weren't prepared for it. You physically can't do anything, and especially in my case where the muscles in my back are damaged, the nerves are damaged, the pains in my legs meant I couldn't even rely on my legs to go for a walk by myself. I remember going out for a walk once, and literally my body just collapsed, and my friend that I was walking with had to catch me. Because you can't even trust your own legs to support you when you leave the house. And so you live in that fear of, okay, can I go out and do this on my own? I couldn't go to the supermarket. I had to have my friends bring my groceries to my house. I had to have my sister came round and cook and prepared my food for me for the week. I couldn't even wash my own hair. So your life literally does stop. And there's nothing to prepare you for it. I said the only thing for me is,
how did you
for me, really, the good thing is I have 2 close friends that suffer from chronic illnesses, you being one of them. That support network and also the medical support and the physio support, also because I was adamant that I'm not having surgery, and I remember being adamant that I'm not taking medication. That was a very bad decision. I lived to regret that, because being honest, I think there was a day that I cried for about
I can imagine.
18 hours. I pretty much cried myself to sleep. I remember it was about 5 in the morning, and when I was still crying because the pain was so excruciating. So the overcoming it's faith for me played a very important part. I actually call them my 3 F's. I give 3 F's in life: faith, family, and friends.
Wow, I love that. And I think I'll keep that with me as well.
Yeah, so those are my 3 things that I said that got me through the most difficult, most painful, the most challenging steps of my life.
Yeah.
My friends and family were there to support me. They did everything. Whether I need to have my hair washed, my food cooked, my house clean, someone to bring groceries to my house.
Yeah.
Words of encouragement. My mother was there when I cried on the phone. I'm like, oh, can they just amputate my legs because I don't need them? People live without legs.
Yeah.
Why do I need my legs? Just take them. My poor mother at the end of the phone having to listen to her daughter cry and say, Mom, just let them take my legs. I can live without it. Yeah. But then you get to the stage where you realize that you just have to keep going with life.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually started taking the pain medication, which was also a good thing because it made sure that I was forced to sleep. It knocked me out. There were so many drugs that it literally, within 15 minutes of taking them, I was out.
Yeah, that's cool.
It meant that my body was also being given the time it needs to just completely rest and recover. And also, it was easing the pain a bit, so it meant that I could be more engaging with my physio. I could be more engaging with the activities that I needed to do because I refused to have surgery. So it meant it took the edge off the pain, which meant I could start doing a little bit more and also give my body the rest it needs.
Yeah. And
with the rest come a better mental state of mind, which then helps you to focus better and think about things and plan. But as you say, and then going back into work, it then becomes, okay, how am I going to go back into work? What are the steps that I need to do to get back to work? Sure. And once again, I think it's faith. For me, I decided what I wanted to do, and I made that plan of what I'm going to do to get back to work, and I prayed about it. Yeah. And I remember I had my job interview, and in the job that I really wanted, and it actually wasn't even the job that was paying the most money, but it's the one that I wanted. And I remember sitting in my interview, and they asked me about stress, and I just said, I don't stress. And I said, why? Because I pray. It might not be the thing someone said in an interview, but for me, that was my answer. That I'm like, I don't stress. Yeah. I said, I have faith. Which means I don't need to stress, because once I put in the work and I believe it will happen and I pray about it,
that's fine. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. And what it's meant to be will be. It doesn't matter. What will be will be. If you pray about it, then you just have to leave it to
do your part.
Yes.
Do your part. As you said, you can't pray for a job and then actually don't send out your CV or make sure you have the right skills. So you do your part to make sure you position yourself. And not everyone believes in faith, but I do. And so it plays a very crucial part in how I kept going. And I felt like, there's one set of footprints in the sand here. When my legs weren't there, God carried me.
Yeah, true.
That's how I felt. Yeah. And when my legs failed me, when my back failed me, God was there. I remember one day praying about not having anything to eat. And when I say pray, for me, pray is like me having a conversation with you right now. I was like, God, I need food. Yeah. I need lunch. I need something to eat. Yeah. I had 3 meals delivered that day.
Wow. It's just fate. I want to ask you, because a lot of people going through similar thing that you went through would be asking themselves, okay, if I get this job, how do I communicate them? Because this pain it's not like the pain goes away. You are going to be in pain. So it's not the pain goes away. One of the things we want to show people is how you could overcome your pain and find joy. You found joy by going back to work, but the only reason you went back to work because you decided to start taking the medication you needed for your body to start healing and fighting this. You went to work. How were you able to communicate with the people at work to say, yes?
I would say for people who are afraid, you can't afford to be afraid. You have to be honest, and you have to be open about it, and you have to understand if this organization isn't going to accept you as you are, it's not the place for you. Because not only are you going to be pushing yourself physically, it's going to affect you mentally. And so if an organization isn't prepared to have those conversations with you from the onset, and I say the onus is on the individual to have that conversation with the organization or with the recruitment agency. So question to me, as soon as someone called my phone, is, do I get to work from home? How often do I need to be in the office? What's the flexibility? I physically can't make it to your office every day.
Yes.
What are your plans? And so those are conversations that before I even accepted an interview, those were conversations I had with the recruiter to make sure I'm setting expectations, because for me, you have to manage people's expectations. So I'm not going to come for an interview with you expecting me to come to the office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But I know I can't. So don't invite me to an interview. You're wasting my time and I'm going to waste your time if we don't have that very open conversation at the onset. So that for me is one way of doing things. And also, so during that process of interviewing, meeting the managers, I was very open about my medical history, my medication, because it was my interest to do so. It's not about being secretive or not wanting to share, but it was in my best interest to make sure that they can facilitate and accommodate me when I get there. Otherwise, you're going to be setting yourself back.
Yeah, no, I really relate to that, because that was how I got my first job. I just had to be honest, because I just didn't want to go into a job and the next day I can't go. I would have to call them and say I'm not available. I think any employer will be very disappointed with that person. And so I was just honest. And I believed if this job was meant to be, you hire me, I will give you my best. I know my best, but my best only comes from having the strength and energy to be able to give you that. I'm going to leave that topic for a while, because I know you and I could sit on this. There's so many women out there. One thing I really admire you, I think I haven't told you a lot about them. It's just how you are a strong woman. You are a woman who's overcome not just your physical pain, but you've also gone on to get your job, which is a very successful job in your field. You've also been able to, as a woman, buy a house. You've also not wait for a man. Most women are there crying for a man to open that door, for a man to bring that comfort to them. But you just went ahead and decided, like, I will find my own joy and do my own thing. Claudine Brown, please tell the women out there who are desperate, who need to know, what did you do and how did you find that joy, please?
Yes. The question is, finding joy should not be dependent on a third party.
Okay.
I mean, if it's a third party that you're dependent on for your joy, make it be your faith.
Okay.
If you're going to invite anybody else into the my happiness conversation, for me, it's my faith. That's the only other external factor, which is not really external, it's still internal, that is responsible for my joy. I've always taken the notion that my peace of mind and my happiness is my responsibility. It's not dependent on anybody else. It's not dependent on my mother, my father, my boss, my best friends. It's my personal responsibility. And once you get to that level of understanding that your peace, your joy, your happiness,
yes,
100% your responsibility, you then take the steps it takes to make sure you're happy. If you want that big house, okay, what am I going to do to get that big house? If that's going to be part of your well-being and part of your happiness, something, everybody wants something. Materialistic things do cut, they say don't be materialistic, but materialistic things do contribute to our happiness. If you need a car because you don't want to walk 2 or 3 miles, then get a car. I don't have a car because I like walking, and I walk 2 miles to my train station, and so I have no need for a car, and so I don't get a car. But there are other people who are like, oh no, I can't walk 2 miles. I'm gonna get a car. Get your car. Work hard, make your plan to get your car. And so for me, that's how I view life. What is it that makes me happy? And taking ownership of that is not dependent on a man. And furthermore, I also believe in setting the standards of which I want to live by. So when somebody comes into my life, they know that this is a standard that I have set for myself. And you're either going to support me with these standards or enhance my standards. But you're not coming in here to lower my standards. And that is with everybody, family, friends, and relationship.
Wow.
Everything. So these are the standards that I live by. These are the things that I do to make myself happy. And by all means, come in and enjoy what I have. bring your whatever you're bringing to the table to also make sure that we're enjoying it together. You can come in, but don't come and subtract.
Yes.
There is no subtraction going on in my life, and I will not settle.
I love that.
Because I want a man in my life, I will not settle for someone who is draining my energy. For me, my peace is the most important thing.
It is.
I need to do what's necessary to maintain that peace and maintain my happiness, whether it be from planting food in my garden because I enjoy doing that, going for a walk in the woodlands, or sitting at home doing nothing but reading a book. By all means, if my friends or a partner want to come in my life and they like to enjoy those things, we can do it together. If there's something else that you like that I can support you with, let's do it together. So but waiting for someone to bring these things to you,
yes,
it's not the way to make yourself happy.
So you're quick, if you're just to give a young girl advice who's sitting at home probably whipping because she's just not as contented with her life, what quick advice would you tell her?
Love you. Flaws and all. Accept your flaws.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, what we need to understand, there's a difference between accepting your flaws and knowing that you need to work on something to improve yourself.
Yeah, that's correct.
There is accepting the flaws and understanding, okay, this is who I am, but is that the person I want to be? And then you work on the things that you don't like about yourself. Not because somebody else don't like them about you. You work on the things you don't accept within yourself. So for me, when I was going back into work, I wasn't financially stable. Of course, I've been out of work for a couple of years. I've spent all the money I had looking after myself. And I knew that my financial independence is something that's going to bring me happiness. And so I went out and worked. I knew that I wanted to live in a house, have my space. And so I worked on that. So acknowledge where you are in life and accepting it and being happy with where you are in life. Happiness isn't coming tomorrow. Happiness is here right now.
Yes.
Self-reflect. Keep working on you. We're a work in progress. Next year, I'm hoping to be somebody who is achieved more than where I am right now, and not in the sense of financial or a bigger house or a nicer car, or a car rather, but achieving more in my own self-worth, in my own development, in my own mental thoughts, in my own way of working out things in my head. And patience. I said it the other day. Patience was one of the things I worked on within myself because I realized I didn't have patience.
Yeah. If
you're a 5-minute late, I am gone.
Oh my God.
And I said to someone, I've been working on patience for about 15 years because you never get to that destination.
You can tell you don't have kids then. You have to.
You don't get to that. You don't get to the destination. You want to improve on your patience. It's not something you say, oh, okay, I'm patient now, let's just stop.
Yes.
It's a thing you keep working on. As you said, if I had kids, maybe I need to do even more work on my patience.
Much more. I mean, adding 1 + 1, you teach them that today, tomorrow it's the same. You're like, I just taught you that. How could you forget it?
Right about now, I think I can probably think, oh, I am such a patient person. But you add a third thing to the equation, maybe like a child, and then I realize that actually I need to build more patience. So it's that thing of accepting where you are,
okay,
loving with yourself in this position that you are, and then working on the things that you want to work on to keep developing and growing, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck in a position, and that doesn't bring happiness.
Wow. Well, Claudine, I can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're such a busy girl, but I had to sneak you out because I always think about your story and how it's inspired me. It's inspired everyone around me, and I had to share this with the world. You've overcome pain, and you're still living with chronic pain, but you still managed to do what you do. You've overcome relationship issues.
It's just, one of the things I did. This way would be up front. I'm in my home office, but this is my have those conversations, people. Have those conversations.
Exactly. You've overcome pain, and you still do what you're doing. You've overcome relationship issues. You're not worried about if a man is there, if a man is not there. My advice to everyone else is to listen to this conversation and learn from it. Take bits and pieces If you need to get in touch eventually, send us a message and we'll reach out to you. I'm sure Claudine will be happy to answer any of your questions, because I'm not kidding you. She's inspirational. She's someone who you should learn from. Someone who teaches you that whatever you're going through, if you put your mind together and get things sorted, you could overcome it. Thank you so much for listening to Painless Universal with Anne Welsh. And thank you so much, Claudine, for joining us. We look forward to having more conversation. Thank you. Bye.
3 F's in life.
Yes, I remember those. They are family, friends, and thank you.
A lot of F's in life.
Thank you, darling. I'll speak to you later. Bye.